Because if your truth can't be tested, if it can't survive doubt, if it needs faith to exist, then it's not truth. It's indoctrination. You aren't real. Not in the way you think you are, because if you can't trust your senses, if your memories can be manipulated, and if your reality can be simulated, then the question is no longer what's real. It's why do we believe anything is? This isn't a video about dreams, it's about doubt. Because if truth exists, how do we actually know it? Let's break down the science, the philosophy, and the problem with how we even define reality. This is evidence first. Let's get into it. Let's start simple. You're watching this video right now. Or at least you think you are. You see color, you hear my voice, you feel present, but everything you're experiencing is being filtered through one machine, your brain. And that machine, it hallucinates reality constantly. Not my words, not my words. These come from Dr. Anil Seth, a neuroscientist at Sussex University, who said, "Perception is a controlled hallucination. We don't passively receive the world, we actively generate it." So if we're hallucinating our reality, then how do we know what's real, or if we even exist in the same way we assume? Here's where things get uncomfortable. Because when you pull back the curtain of your senses, memory, and belief, you start to face a question philosophers have asked for centuries. How do we know what we know? This is epistemology, the philosophy of knowledge. It's not just a brainy word for nerds in robes. It's the foundation of every claim you've ever believed. God exists? Epistemology asks, how do you know? Science proves things? Epistemology asks, what kind of proof counts? Morality is objective? Epistemology steps in and says, by what standard? And here's the kicker. If your source of truth is flawed, every belief that follows might be too. That's where most religion falls apart. Because when the Bible says this is truth, epistemology demands, how can you prove that without using the very book you are trying to validate? Let's go deeper into the idea that you aren't real, not metaphorically, but literally. Your brain creates the sense of you, but it's a simulation. Neuroscientists can stimulate parts of the brain to induce out-of-body experiences. Trauma victims can develop disassociation, where the self detaches from consciousness. Even memory, the backbone of your identity, is reconstructive. Every time you remember something, your brain rewrites it slightly. So, what are you? Really? An illusion of continuity? A cluster of perceptions stitched together by habit? There's no core self in your biology. There's a brain interpreting patterns, feeding you a narrative, which begs the question, if your sense of self is constructed, then who or what is the real you behind it? Let's talk about reality itself. We experience a 3D world. We think of time as linear, but both of those things can break. At the quantum level, reality behaves probabilistically, not deterministically. Particles exist in superpositions, meaning they don't have a definite state until observed. Time, according to Einstein's theory of relativity, time isn't universal. It stretches, slows, and even stops. So what you experience as now might be entirely different from someone else in a different gravitational field. Let me put it simply. What you see as real is just your brain's interpretation of a specific wavelength of chaos. Religion claims it offers answers, but science and epistemology teach us to question the very question. Because if your version of reality is already filtered, flawed, and fluid, then what makes you think you can build unshakable truth on top of it? This is where things get wild. Most religious claims fail the epistemology test. Ask someone how they know God exists. The answers are always the same. I feel it in my heart, the Bible says so, personal experience. But here's the problem. Feelings aren't facts. Hallucinations, trauma responses, and confirmation bias all feel real. That doesn't make them true. A claim cannot validate itself. Saying the Bible proves God is like saying Harry Potter proves Hogwarts. It's my favorite. Personal experience is not universal evidence. What convinces you doesn't apply to reality at large. Science, on the other hand, doesn't ask you to believe. It asks you to test. That's epistemology in action. It's not about trusting your gut, it's about building systems that outlast your bias. So, where does that leave us? If we can't fully trust our senses, if our self is an illusion, if even time and space bend under scrutiny, can we know anything? Yes, but not with certainty, only with probability. That's where evidence-based reasoning comes in. We don't say this is 100% true forever. We say, given all available data, this is the most likely explanation. That is humility. And that's what religion lacks. Because if your truth can't be tested, if it can't survive doubt, if it needs faith to exist, then it's not truth. It's indoctrination. So no, I can't prove you aren't real. But I can show you that your belief in your own reality is built on assumptions. And if we can question even that, then we damn sure have the right to question a 2,000-year-old book written by people who thought disease was caused by sin. In this space, we don't start with doctrine. We start with data. We don't worship faith. We test facts. Because if truth exists, and I believe it does, then the only path to it is through evidence. So I'll leave you with this. Faith is belief without evidence. Truth is belief because of it. If you felt the tension in this video, if you've ever questioned the reality handed to you, then subscribe. Because here we don't follow blindly. We start with evidence and we end with truth.